I don't know where I am. I'm just driving, trying to soak up the countrified nature of what I'm seeing right here. Out in the middle of rural Thailand, y'all. Yep, cows, farmers, dogs. Yeah, always dogs. Dogs everywhere. Hell yeah, living the dream.
One of the things I've noticed about Khon Kaen is the prevalence of street dogs. It reminds me a lot of Bangkok and how it used to be about 15 years ago. Sure, Bangkok still has neighborhoods where street dogs dot the landscape like 7-Elevens. But at least in the Ban Fang area, there really aren't that many that you can see roaming the streets anymore. Not so Khon Kaen, and definitely not so the outlying villages and suburbs that surround the fast-growing city. Dogs are everywhere. I'm trying to get these two dogs to recognize and get used to seeing me every single day. The smaller one is territorial, and the larger one looks like he has a bit of Thai Ridgeback in him. Now, don't get me wrong, he's a sweetheart. I've only ever heard this dog bark once, and that was this morning. Before this morning, I actually wondered if there was something wrong with his vocal cords because he was just so quiet. He's also extremely affectionate, making my fears of his possibly being aggressive as he gets older probably moot. He's about twice the size that he was last month. I mean, that's some serious fast growing, folks. And I want the adult version of him and his feisty little brother to recognize and like me. I do not want to get bitten. This is my nightmare. I've never really understood what pets are like in rural parts of Thailand and to the working class people. For big city upper class and middle class Thais, they're very much family members living indoors and they're pampered little things. But in the outskirts, I seldom ever see them handled gently or even petted sometimes. This dog has learned that I will pet it and rub its belly, and it responds accordingly. Every morning when I see it, he is sure to greet me silently. Except this morning, I might add, he did bark, which really confused me. By the way, there are an estimated 100,000 to 300,000 stray dogs in Bangkok and approximately 2 million throughout Thailand. Municipalities like Udon Thani here in the Isan region actually require mandatory registration of pet dogs, and owners found to have unregistered dogs can be fined up to 5,000 baht. Currently, there are several initiatives to try and, if not eliminate, at least mitigate the soy dog problem. Culling is out of the question as this goes against Buddhist culture to do so, and various rounding up, spaying, and neutering as well as adoption programs are currently revving up. But let's just say dogs walking the streets who may or may not be owned by someone are a common sight still. I plan to, before I get too old and fat, do some biking around Thailand, and my fear of big dogs may make it a somewhat traumatic experience. It's a shame as the villages surrounding the big cities like Khon Kaen and Udon Thani are really charming and the villagers friendly as all get out. It's just, I'm kind of scared of big dogs. One thing that I've noticed though is that you can be living in a rural setting, but only 15 to 20 minutes outside the downtown district. This is because cities like Khon Kaen and Udon Thani are densely populated with living, dining, and business locations wedged up against each other. This makes for cities that are fun to walk and get lost in, finding numerous cafes and shops and everything around any corner. But it also makes it strange that as soon as you're out of the downtown area, you quickly end up in what feels like rural countryside, even though it's within a hop and a skip from everything. My mother's home is just like that. There is this illusion that we're far away from things, but she's closer to the airport here than I was to the airport when I lived in downtown Bangkok. Either airport, the Suvarnabhumi or the Don Mueang airport. She's within, I think it's like 15 minutes drive, 10 minutes drive at very most. Another thing that I've noticed is just how many Westerners are living not just in Khon Kaen, but in the outlying villages, especially the village that I live in. Just around the corner, we have several houses owned by Westerners who have carved out a quiet and affordable retirement for themselves. Their houses do tend to look opulent in comparison to their neighbors, so they don't exactly blend. But in Thailand, you don't need to blend. It's all okay. So today I had some errands to run. I needed to find a print shop, and I didn't want to do it in downtown. I thought, let's try something new. Let's see if some of the outlying villages out there have print shops. And well and behold, they did. I was just driving around exploring the west side of Khon Kaen in its various suburbs and whatnot, and I came across this outlying town. As a matter of fact, I think it's one of the furthest outlying towns before you end up really moving towards Phetchabun. I came across it, and I was rather charmed by it. Its citizens didn't seem fazed at all that I was a quote-unquote Farang, and were able to understand my spoken Thai, so it was nice. I chanced upon this coffee shop here owned by a sweet young lady whose daughter apparently teaches English in grade school. She created a membership stamp card for me, and if I buy 10 coffees from her, my next one is going to be free. Now, I'm going to need to drive out here amongst the cows, the buffalo, and the sugarcane fields to get her coffee, but hell, who knows? I may frequent the place while I try to figure out what to do with my life. And when I'm up north here in Bangkok, why not? These towns are really fun. So what's living in rural Thailand like these days? Well, even out here in Ban Fang, they have AIS fiber, that's high-speed fiber optic internet, and further out, the 5G cell phone service is fast and cheap. So you're connected regardless of where you go for the most part. You have to really go way out there to not be connected. It's as peaceful as you want it to be and as connected as one needs it. It's really up to you. Is it the kind of life I want to live? Nah, but it's not a horrible life, and it's at a fraction of what you would pay for the same standards in the United States. So even though I've said it many times before and will probably continue to say it until the day I die, I am a city boy. I do like large cities, metropolitan areas. I like to be able to go to a museum or a cafe or a coffee shop. But in reality, living out in even rural Thailand, the city is kind of creeping into these outlying villages and whatnot. I mean, even in the little town that my mother lives in, there are several cafes and restaurants that can be visited. Will they have the same ambiance, quote unquote, as something that you would find in Khon Kaen or in Bangkok? Hell nah, it won't. But it still has its own countrified charm, and that's nothing to complain about. After all, I mean, I am in this part of the world for a reason, and I'm going to try and experience it and share it with you guys. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Trust me, it would help me out a great deal while I try to figure out what to do with my life. Thank you.